Okay, what I've got here today is the Saito 80 engine that came out of that box of 7 engines that were provided to me by a really awesome gentleman. What I want to do is just kind of quickly tear this engine down, get it ready for cleaning. Theoretically, I guess I could actually just run this engine as it is. It's got really strong compression. But I'm very curious to know, because I think this is an older Saito 80, and obviously this header isn't stock at all. It's not even from a Saito engine. I don't know where that came from. But because of the way this carburetor or the throttle arm looks, it makes me think that maybe this is an early Saito FA-80, which means if I want to find out if it's the high compression one. So with that, I am going to go ahead and probably go ahead and just tear this thing down instead of doing a box to the bench run, even though I think it's probably capable of running just the way it is. Also kind of curious as the runtime. Actually, let's check that out right now. Okay, so looks like it might be a fairly low runtime engine. I don't see a ton of carbon exhaust or residue on that exhaust valve, and this looks really nice. The other thing that makes me think it's a fairly old Saito is that it has this satin finish on these rocker arms. Now that's only assuming that all of the parts on this engine are original, but Saito didn't do this satin finish into the 90s, I don't think. I think into the 90s they went to a nice chrome finish, but these definitely have a satin finish to them. So that's another thing that makes me think that this engine might be one of the earlier excuse me, one of the earlier models. So I'll do less talking and more disassembling. Why is that metal washer so stuck on there? This O-ring is going to have to be replaced. That's bad. That thing is really bad. I'm not even sure what the hell that is. It almost feels like metal. That's going to require a little bit more investigation because that doesn't even look like an O-ring. I'm not sure what's going on there. Get my magnifier on here. Oh, that's not a good thing at all. What happened here is part of this intake manifold is broken off in there. That's what that is. So, that sucks. Right out of the chute, this engine is kind of crap because the intake manifold is broken. There's the O-ring, and yet we still have part of this intake manifold stuck in here. That is not a good thing. I hate it when I see surprises like that. Ooh, I think I just saw it move downward. If it moved downward, it should move upward. Wow, look at how much of that intake manifold. So this sucks. this part, this much of the intake manifold was broken off. How that would ever shear like that is beyond me. I've never ever seen anything like that before. So this engine is not going to run right now, and I'm going to have to see if I can't find a replacement intake manifold for it before it does run. So that kind of sucks. What do you expect though when you get a box of engines for free? You can't expect that everything is going to be perfect with them, and that you're not going to have to put a little bit of money into them just to get them running. And that's what I'm pretty much finding. In fact, the only engine out of this box of 7 that I've had running thus far is that OS 120 Surpass, and the regulator on that is bad, so it's not going to be running anymore. So that engine is really kind of a shelf queen now too. I'm pretty certain this isn't. Oh wow, it did just pop right off. Cool. I figured it was going to give me a hard time. Okay. Kind of gnarly looking in there. Let's see if these head screws are going to give me a problem. And there we have the head separated from the crankcase. Nice push rods. They don't look bent. One thing I probably should have done first was test to see how these are going to come out. You know, I've been really lucky lately in that I haven't had any issues with these pins, but I have had several engines in the past where trying to get those pins out was a freaking nightmare. But I've been lucky. Let me hold that thought. Okay. Now that this one's broken free and it's loose, I'll say I have been very lucky of late that I haven't had any issues with those, because those can be kind of a downer. Now these, that gasket, pretty crappy. Anyway, let's pull this piston out so we can get a look at. Okay, bummer. Bummer on 2 counts. Bummer in that it's got more runtime than I thought, and the second bummer is that it is not one of the high compression engines. From what I was told by a fellow on RC modeler, on RC groups, I mean, the way you can tell if you have a high compression Saito 80 is that the top of the piston here is kind of domed up. This one is flat, so therefore it is not a high compression Saito 80. Let's take a look inside here, and I would say it probably has well, maybe 1.5 gallons, maybe 2 gallons through it, and I'm just guessing. I don't know for a fact, but overall, I mean, this engine is nice, and it's going to have a much longer service life once I get a replacement intake manifold for it. And of course, as you saw, it didn't come with an exhaust, so that would mean that it's either going to share an exhaust with another engine, or I got to try and find one. The last thing I want to do is put one of those new style exhausts on this older engine, because those new style exhausts are horrid. I don't like the way they look at all. And you know, when it comes to an engine, looks are everything. Okay, that came right off. Now let's see if this gasket will survive. Not like I don't have more of them, but nope, it didn't. Gasket did not survive. So that kind of tells me maybe a little bit about the history or the age of this engine, because I've been inside a lot of Saito engines. A lot of them. And I'd say 90 to 95% of them, that gasket comes off and it's intact. This thing is really gummy. So I still stand by the prediction, or the that this is an older Saito 80 engine. It's just not the original high compression one, unfortunately. Nevertheless, it was free. So I'm certainly not complaining. Now let's see if I can see if these things are going to come off of here. Wow. Another thing that maybe indicates the age of this engine is that even though the rubber feels very pliable, it certainly has no intention of coming off there. I don't want to tear them, but I don't think my LA's Totally Awesome cleaner will hurt the rubber. So I'm probably going to put them in the take this pin out, take this all apart, pop those cam followers out and put it in there just like this, and maybe oh, wait a minute, never mind, there we go. I must have loosened that one up just enough so I could rotate it and it came off. Ugh. Last thing I want to do is rip one of them. Maybe just a little heat will be enough for me to get that thing to come off. So anyway, there is our unboxing, or not unboxing, our disassembly of this Saito 80. I don't think I'm going to put it in the cleaner tonight. So that's it for now.